Welcome back to the Velvet Machete Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and I have a special guest for you today because he happens to be a personal friend of mine and yet another brilliant person here on this show to help serve you on your path to becoming a confident, compassionate leader. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend, Jerry Torisk. He is the president of Pro Advisors and can be reached. We'll get into more of that later, but reached at jeremytorisk.com. And we're going to be talking about the acting at the speed of instruction today. So adversity is nothing new to Jeremy, who recently sold his share of a very successful Telco Construction company. And after 30 years of extreme ups and downs in the telco industry, is now a professional speaker, author, and labor to leadership, business advisor, and leadership coach. He is a father of 4 well-adjusted and driven kids and is married to a kicktail real estate queen, Christy, who I happen to know and also agree with that sentiment. And again, he's my personal friend. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on here. I've been looking forward to this particular episode all week.
Awesome. Well, so last week we recorded for Jeremy's podcast. So this is what happens when you have a lot of smart friends, is you get to talk to each other on each other's shows. And it's
a
super
symbiotic
fun.
life we have here going.
That's right. So Jeremy and I are in a similar, or in a group together, and he's newish to the group. And so I kind of was like, hey, let's go to dinner. And so I was able to really get to know him and Christy when we were all in Las Vegas at a conference together. And we got to hang out. And anytime you break bread, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah, especially at Vegas, because breaking bread is so delicious.
We went to a Divine Steakhouse. It was very.
And when you're I'm an IF guy, right? I do intermittent fasting. So when I get to just sit there for 2 hours talking to a group of people and feasting like that, it's my time.
Yep. I'm back on IF on Monday. We got to get through this birthday first, though, brother. That I'm not going to not do my thing for my birthday.
No.
But so let's dive in. So your whole concept is acting at the speed of instruction. So before we really unpack that, just kind of give me the philosophy of why is that a thing for you? Like Velvet Machete is my thing. This is your thing. Tell us about that.
It's one of them. It's just a term that I heard years ago from one of my coaches, Matt Thurrott, and it really impacted me because it's really just the crux of everybody's failures. One of the main parts of the cantilever that puts them over the edge of failing is putting the hard stuff off. You know, they want to do the easy stuff. They want to do the stuff that's fun. They want to do the stuff that's that makes the biggest, splash. But it's the details and the hard stuff that really makes the difference in succeeding or failing, especially if you get into bad habits. And on a long-term scale, if you do the hard things first, like eat the frog with Brian Tracy, it just sets you up, for that much more. And so, I was talking to someone today about getting together for a virtual coffee, something that we do. And I said, what's your email address? And as he was doing it, I put it right into the app and sent him the link. Because I'm not going to say, okay, I'll send it to you later. I'm doing it right now, right? Because that's where I am right now. If I put it off, I won't do it. So
it won't happen.
That's what it's about. Doing everything at the moment. And it's not the instruction, obviously, from other people, which you have to do, but it's also listening to yourself. Tell you, if you think about something, act like it's your boss telling you.
Yeah. I had an assistant, and let me just be clear. Anytime I say assistant, I really mean the boss of me, because my audience knows all about my just bubble wrap it concept. And so having people surrounding me to bubble wrap what's not helpful about me is ideal. And she really hammered it into me. This was forever ago. I mean, just forever ago, maybe 12 years ago or so. She would just say, okay, Amber, what needs to be done? Let's put a check in the box. And I'd be like, oh no, we got to do this first. And because I'm the visionary, I'm the big picture, I'm the strategy person, all that kind of stuff. And then she's like, what do you need off your plate? Let's put a check in that box. And then she would literally come into my office and say, I got this done. And she would check it off in front of me. And she said, doesn't that feel good? I'm like, that feels so good. That brain, like that mess in the back of your brain of all those things that you're putting off because I can get to it. You're right.
No, and then I'll throw the name out first because I know that it's gonna come up. But Jocko is one of my heroes, and so my whole life is based around his book, Extreme Leadership. And so, acting at the speed of instruction is just another form of prioritize and execute.
Yeah.
So just because something needs to be done, well, where does it fit on the scale of priority? Yeah. But it's the execute part that really is where that acting at the speed of instruction comes from.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I know one of the key concepts that you talk about is really becoming more proactive than reactive. And I agree with that, but I'm curious. At first, I want to just hear your take on that. And I also, as like a sub point, would love to know, there are some people who are just naturally wired to be more reactive than proactive. I use psychoanalytic tools, and the predictive index is one of them. So if you're A over C, you're proactive. If you're C over A, you're reactive. But you need to be proactive in business. So how do we do that, Jeremy?
Well, how do you do it is to tell yourself. It's a series of messages that you program yourself with. It's changing your vocabulary. Instead of I can't, it's I can. And it's how. I can't do it because of A, B, or C. So then you would change it to I can if I do A, B, or C. So it's just changing your whole outlook and the way that you speak to yourself. Nobody can ever kind of make you mad, that kind of thing. You made me mad. I allowed myself to get angry or frustrated or irritated. So when you know that it's not anybody can do anything to you, and you understand that you have control of yourself, that's where that proactive mindset really starts kicking in, and you'll change the way you think about everything. It's a stoic kind of mindset too. If you read Meditations, which is a book about what's his name? The guy from 2,000 years ago. Darn it. I got all my books over here.
I was like, I know you have that bookshelf behind you, brother.
He's over there. I forget his name, but it's called Meditations. And it's not about meditating. It's about the Stoic philosophy, but it's very proactive. Getting up in the morning, just think about, why do I have to get up? I'd rather stay here. Instead, what do I get to do today? Popping out of bed and, just knowing that you planned the night before and exactly what you're doing when you get up and, you have your routine. That's all proactive stuff. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it all comes back together. It's just how you're programming your thoughts.
Well, and so there's so many layers there. And the first one is really about learned behaviors. And I think we talked about this a little bit on your show, but I am not inherently the most dot your I's and cross your T's kind of person. I'm just not. And I'm not wired that way. And there's nothing wrong with me. That's just not how I am. I'm great in other areas. So when you have a child at 16 years old and you've got to keep this other human alive and thriving, not just alive, but alive and thriving, you learn to dot I's and cross T's, even though you're not naturally wired to do that. Those learned behaviors, what I'm hearing you say is like psychologically, it's up to you to learn that behavior. Is that accurate?
Yes. And to be, consistent about it.
Yeah.
You're just much more pleasurable to be around too. Come on. Who wants to be around someone always negative and always reacting to every situation? When if you're proactive, you tend to be just more of an upbeat, positive, can-do personality. And believe me, there was nobody more dark than me. I grew up in a very, very, very toxic household. My house was like Shameless. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, Shameless is a 10. My house was an 8. Always drugs, always booze, always a lot of people, always parties, which was fun. But a lot of uncles coming through and a lot of, behaviors, a lot of stuff went on that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So I actually left my house when I was 17 and was homeless, sleeping on my friends' couches for 3 years until I got my feet under me because it was so horrible. I've been in over 1,000 street fights and probably over 100 or 2 sanctioned ring fights after I got into martial arts in my 20s because I had so much rage. And now, over time, learning how to be proactive, I'm physically happy.
You are a happy person.
I'm very happy, very
when
positive.
You say I used to be so angry, I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, don't come to my house while Fox News is on and watch me the news. Old habits come out. But for the most part, yeah, I'm very upbeat and looking at the positive spins. And I'm a realist.
Yeah.
I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a pie in the sky. Everything's crazy, rosy-eyed glasses. I'm a realist, but it's a can-do reality.
Yeah. Well, when we think about the Stockdale Paradox that was highlighted in Jim Rohn's Good to Great, it's about confronting the brutal facts, but not losing faith. And I think when you have had to confront teen motherhood, trauma in your upbringing, homelessness, I mean, we share that in common. We've both been homeless. When you look at it that way, and there's a victim mentality that you can get into. And I'll be honest, I could fall into victim mentality. That's below the line energy, as my friend Deb would say. Or you can use what you learned and develop grit.
Yeah, grit's a great word. It's one of my favorite words.
Mm-hmm. And when I'm working with people and helping them choose employees, and we get between two people, I'm like, yeah, but I know that person's resume doesn't look as good, but that person has grit.
Yes. Yeah. And it all comes down to really simplifying life too. Mm-hmm. Really, I lost 50 pounds and I tried everything. At the end of the day, I ate less and I moved more. Mm-hmm. And really is what it comes down to. That's what intermittent fasting is, eating less. Right. Because believe me, the 4 hours I eat a day, I eat horribly. I eat pizza, chips, ice cream, cookies. My wife makes a very healthy meal that I eat, but I eat 4 or 5 snacks between.
I was going to say, Christy doesn't look like she eats that way.
No, she cooks me, but I don't even tell you what quinoa and, Brussels sprouts and all this stuff. And I eat it, because I'm a good husband. But from dessert to 9:30, I eat 4 or 5 things. Now I don't eat a whole gallon of ice cream anymore like I used to. I eat a smaller bowl. I eat frozen grapes, but I'll eat 5 or 6 Oreos and I'll go into some chips and I'll eat some nuts. But because it's only 4 hours a day and I'm a very active person, it allows me to maintain my weight. I've been 220, 230, 235 for the last 4 years. Wow. And I was 280. So for a long time. And so as long as I keep looking in the mirror and feeling okay, I can go ahead and everything is okay in moderation.
That's right.
So, but I want to write a book. Page 1, eat less. Page 2, move more.
Right. Nobody wants to believe it though, because it's all, you said it's all mindset. It's all how you talk to yourself. It's how you look at things. It's I get to, or I don't, it's not, I have to, it's I get to. And when you have been in our circumstances, there are so many things that you realize are true blessings that you get to do that you didn't get to do before. So on that, I think you and I have some, what's that?
Open up too, by the way, when you do that, the world changes when you start acting this way consistently. Well,
and if we want to get into kind of the woo-woo kind of side of things, and it's really actually scientific, and I can point to the science. I'll have to think of it to get it in the show notes. What's that?
Nerd.
I know I'm a nerd. I am such a nerd. I'm such a science nerd. I love looking at metaphysical things and being like, and here's the science to support it. I am too, by the way. So of course, that's why we're friends. Like, can you be a professional speaker and a coach or a consultant if you're not a nerd, not a successful one? So the thing of it is when what you put your attention on is what you are going to move towards. And so if it's very like, it's a simple thing. It's on the wall in my house. Like, we don't talk about the things that we don't want. We talk about the things that we do want. Because if you talk about the things that you do want, you move towards those, your attention's on it. You think about it. If you think about the things that you don't want, you're going to end up over there. I'm just telling you.
Right. And then you can take a step forward and start measuring the things you want. And that way you can know whether they're coming as fast as they can, or whether what you need to do to get them quicker, because you're paying attention to them and measuring them, and what get measures gets improved.
That's right. And that's, again, both that reactive versus proactive thing that you beat your drum on. So that's fabulous. So let's talk about, you and I both have really strong whys, very, very strong whys. So when you say that you can develop your drive by examining your why, what do you mean by that?
Because everybody thinks that drive is motivation, and it's not. One of my favorite passages from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, is when he talks about an example of going running. So first they get all motivated and want to go running. And they're going to take the running shoes out and they're going to go, first of all, go on to Amazon and buy a bunch. And I just buy the water pack, the Camelback, and buy that. Also, I never ran in my life. And I got all this running stuff, buy the shoes, and I put them on, and you open the door and it's raining, right? Or you open the door and it's 48 degrees. And you're like, yeah, tomorrow, but I'm going to go because I'm motivated.
And I have all the gear.
That's motivation. Drive is whatever you got. You can just throw on a pair of sweats, put on a shirt, put on shoes, and open the door, and it's 30 degrees and raining and muddy, and you just keep going, and you go and run your 3 miles, whatever you said you were going to run, because you have a drive. It's going to get you through the bad weather, or something came up and I don't have time to do it right now. No, it's what you want to do, and you're driven, you'll make it work. Maybe you run 3/4 of it and get home a little earlier to get what you've done, but you're not going to not do it. So motivation is just temporary. And if you need to be motivated to do something, it means that you don't have the proper why.
Oh, so I love that.
Whys, and then if you learn how to do the 5 whys, right? I want to be rich. Well, that's not a why. Well, I want to be rich so I can buy a lot of, change my life and buy things that are nice because I lived very poor as a kid. Well, that's not why. Well, I want to, live nice so that I can provide for my wife and family and give them stuff I didn't have. Okay, go deeper. Well, I want my kids to think of me as somebody who worked very hard to get them these nice things because it wasn't just given to me, and that will provide them an example of somebody who works hard. Okay, one more.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Legacy of, to let not just my kids, but build it into them so they can teach their kids how to do this. So that ugliness that I grew up with is cut. Right. And now for the next 5 or 6 generations, I'm going to have hard working, positive, helpful, happy kids, grandkids, great grandkids. We're going to spread that. And that's a drive. That's a why. That's a why. And guess what? Because that why, you'll get all this other stuff.
That's right.
But it can't be that superficial.
Yeah, because you don't want a bozo button. You're trying to change your generational story.
Yeah, and that comes from, why do I want to go running? Because I want to be healthy and I want to feel good. And being fat and not able to tie my shoes without getting out of breath doesn't allow me to go out there and if I'm a sales guy, make 100 phone calls because I don't have the energy. I'm lethargic. I can't think, clearly. So now my why is going to make me go run. And I've run in Dallas in 42 degrees and rain because I needed to run, and I'm a Florida guy.
I never really thought about the difference between motivation and drive. So this is new to me. I love that. I love learning new things. And as you were describing that, I thought back to last year during the stay-at-home orders, when we were very unclear what was, the bad word, the thing, and we were all stuck at home. And so I was dealing with my own stress and my own uncertainty, and my daughter has a lung disease. So I was clearly terrified because if you've read my book, The Bombshell Businesswoman, she was actually born dead and brought back to life and had to go to Vanderbilt Hospital for 2 weeks. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I was worried about my son. There's all these things. And then on top of it, the work that we do, I'm working with companies and individuals who are also hurting, who are going through all the same things. I'm pouring into them. I'm helping companies lay off their employees. I'm helping senior leaders there is a GM, I won't say what company, of a hotel, who was literally painting doors in the middle of the night at his hotel because there was nobody else to do it.
Right.
That's what I was dealing with. So I'm just painting the picture of trying to support these people, trying to support people in government who were having to communicate nonsensical things. We're trying to keep the public calm. So I started walking really, I turned into Forrest Gump, Jeremy. And I was just I just walked to clear my brain. That's what I did first thing every morning. I had to get out of the house. I needed to do it in a safe way. And I needed to exercise. I'm a gym rat and I couldn't go to the gym. So I lift heavy things. I'm a big weightlifter and I'm like, okay, I'll walk.
Prison weights.
Yeah, exactly. So I started walking, and then like if it rained, I still walked. If it was freezing, I was like, "Urgh." And I got like, I ordered like temperature, I don't know, like
Thermal
that
warming.
stuff.
Yeah.
This is how unfamiliar I am with any of this. I put my beanie on, I had my gloves on. Sometimes I would walk in my Uggs, like I didn't care. And I went every single day, and I would go anywhere from 7 miles to like 15 miles every day.
It's
And that
incredible.
came from
That's nuts.
so many miles. And all uphill too, because the other thing, I have a bad hip. And so I couldn't do like true, like heavy deadlifts that my body needs. Like the light ones wouldn't work. And so I just went uphill for miles to keep all that. Now that is not motivation. I didn't have to wake up and be like, you should do this today because you want to be skinny. No, it's like, I'm going to lose my ever loving mind if I don't do this. That's drive. That's beautiful.
Yeah. If you have to have the right music on in order to work out, you're motivated. You're not driven.
Sing to yourself,
figure
sister.
out why you want to work out, and then that will make you work out no matter what.
Yeah. I've always told people I hit the gym so I don't hit you. That's drive.
I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, you should. I have a tank top. I wear it to the gym, everything. Okay. Well, that was really compelling. That's definitely a tweetable. And then, so, I talk about branding a lot. We talk about personal branding a lot. It's the first step on the Velvet Machete leadership journey, for that protocol that we have. But you say, that you build your brand by building personal relationships, and you're very specific to say personal. So tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, I probably wrote that in all caps because the way we do business now has changed because of the way everybody relates on social media.
Yeah.
The B2B, especially, there is a extremely large opportunity to build your business on social alone, especially on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn are business people. So if you learn the art of building relationships, your brand is going to be directly related to that effort. And so when you go and start connecting with people, especially on LinkedIn, and you just start going, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to do this? Do you want my service? Hey, well, that's just like walking up to somebody at a bar and going, hey, or take a look. You want to buy a watch?
Yeah. Here, see, you want to watch? See?
Yeah. So instead, you go up to a bar and you go, hey, listen, I overheard you guys talking about that, that game last night with Brady. And that was crazy, right? I was talking to a friend, and we have a pretty cool thing we were talking about with knowledge versus execution. And now you're having a conversation. Same thing with LinkedIn. So you're going to see somebody on LinkedIn that you want to do business with, and then you're going to see something you have in common with them, like they went to the same college that you went to, or they have this, they have sports cars, or they have a dog that you have, and you're going to send them a message before you connect with them. You're going to say, hey, I noticed you have German Shepherds. I grew up with German Shepherds. Aren't they the best? Would you consider connecting, with me? You leave a personal message. And then when they connect with you, you ask them to have a virtual coffee. I'd like to get to know you. And then on that virtual coffee, you talk about personal stuff. You don't talk about business stuff. And then now you become kind of friendly, real high level. And what they're going to do is see your post, and they're going to see what you do every day.
That's right.
And so by doing that, now you're building your brand because you made the relationship, but they're seeing what you're doing. The words that come to my mind is your actions speak so loud, I can't hear the words you're saying. Mm-hmm. You're going to let your post do the build branding for you, but you're going to make relationships connecting a priority on a personal level.
And isn't it okay if they never buy from you? Because they can refer somebody to you. They can provide a tool or a resource or a piece of advice. I mean, like
introductions alone, forget about it. I mean, let's say you don't even know somebody that you want to do business with. Just by making the right connections, they're gonna know people, right? The know me, like me, trust me. I know this guy; he's a good guy. The referral, the introduction is the best way. So that's from building these personal relationships and not having commission breath. Just trying to sell.
Oh, you just killed me. You just commission breath. I'm dead. I'm dead. Another tweetable. Jeremy, stop. I can't. So I'm stealing that. Okay. I will credit you, but I'm stealing that. So,
3 times. I want three mentions.
Okay. Okay, so that's like totally when I promote this episode on LinkedIn, I'm totally using that because I have an inbox full of becoming friends with me, and I'm getting better about like seeing who wants to link it with me and just to sell to me. And I even have a video that I send out. It's like, hey, thanks for connecting. This is who I am. Also, PS, don't put me in some weird sales funnel. Like that's not what I'm here for. But I could show you so many people who are like, hey, good to know you. I've looked over your awesome LinkedIn profile. You're very accomplished. I think I can help you with this, this, and this. And I'm just like,
yeah. So now what I do with those is I try to convert them. I pretend like I'm a LinkedIn apostle, right? I go, hey, I can change you. I don't do business that way. Thanks for reaching out. I use LinkedIn to build personal relationships. If you just want to pitch to me, I'm not that guy. But if you want to do a 15-minute call to get to know each other personally and see how we can help each other, I'm down for that. And I give them the opportunity. And sometimes they reply, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes on the call, I do 15 minutes. So I know within the first 2 minutes whether they're going to be selling to me or not. But I have turned a lot of people where they wouldn't have maybe thought that way by not just giving them the Heisman, but by telling them, sorry, I just don't do business this way. That's not what this is.
I'm far brattier than that. When they try to sell me something, I go, oh, it's so nice to meet you. You should buy my book. And I link to it.
Like what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Right. Oh, you're pitching me. Let me pitch you. Is that what we're doing here? Okay, cool. Here we go.
You can tell if it's a full pitch too. I just delete those. But if it's a real person, I will try to save them. And then if they don't, they keep coming back, I block them.
You're so nice. You must not get as many messages as I get in a day.
Probably not.
And half the time I do just delete them. Okay, so I'm off on a tangent now. Y'all know how I feel about that. It's just like, oh, I can't.
I also don't sleep much too, so it's better to message people than to go on TikTok because you get lost for hours looking at
the worst are the ones who go in and then they hit on me, and I'm just like, no, go get on whatever the swipey things are. You don't do this on LinkedIn.
Can I give you? That's a great thing. Can I give the gentleman some advice? I'm a happily married man, but I'm a red-blooded man, and there are a lot of words when I'm speaking to women that are used that are double entendres. A lot of them, and if you don't take the bait, if you could become professional and value the relationship. And believe me, it's hard. Oh, see right there. Perfect example.
Right.
I could make a joke of that, but if I just let it lie there and let it go, women notice that. Mm-hmm. Women will notice that. I've had a conversation with this guy 18 times and he's never said something smarmy. He's never said something. I will make jokes and I'll say stuff off color, but not direct it sexually to an opportunity because I'm married, because I have respect for the person I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And it makes you stand out. Mm-hmm. And there are places and times for that. It's not on a professional call. Mm-hmm. So just for what it's worth, it's yeah.
Thank you for advocating for the rest of us. We appreciate you, Jeremy. See, I told you this is my friend. Right? This is my friend. So, I mean, like cutting up with your friends as a whole, like whatever is comfortable to you, that's fine. But you don't know this person. So
I'm just as capable, but there's not.
Well, his wife is also smoking hot, so he would never look another way. Anyway, so there's that. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
all the time. I don't want her going down that route with them. If I do it, then she's going to do it.
and then we don't have a happy marriage. So that's not good. Right. So, we're kind of coming into the final minutes of this. And I know, I'm torn between asking you, I think we kind of covered like the whole mindset issue, but I know that you really are about what's going on up here. So I'm going to plant that seed, but also just ask you before I kind of tell everybody, I always get onto my clients when they say that. Before I tell people with conviction how to find you, what do you want to leave our listeners with? If you can leave one final thought, we've covered so much good stuff and things that I haven't heard of before myself. So
Well, you took out my money shots. I would just say that really, if it comes down to get 1% better every day,
Yeah.
you're not going to be the best at everything around the clock at everything you do. But if you make an effort to get better at something every day and try not to make the same mistake over and over again, you're going to get 1% better. And then just in 1 year, look how much you can improve if you try to consciously improve one or two things for that year. So to open your calendar today, go out a year, you don't have to wait till the first, and just pick something you want to improve on it and just learn one new thing about that every day. I think that's a piece of advice I wish I had a long time ago.
I love that. And so first of all, that is such a great, like, you began with that whole eat the frog mindset, and you're ending really with a similar concept. And that is do the one thing that really you don't want to do, but is important to get done now. And you're ending with, and by the way, if you do a small thing every day continuously, like yoga, I was terrible at yoga. Now it's like such a part of me. And I'm going to give you a resource. So first I found the book online, Meditations, and I don't even know how to say this cat's name, but Marcus Aurelius.
Aurelius, thank you. Gosh, okay. I feel like an idiot. So there's a lot of people though who write about it, and Brian Tracy's a good one to watch, because not Brian Tracy. There's a lot of versions of that book. Look for a version because it's in Greek and it's translated. So make sure.
Yeah, it said there was like adapted for contemporary reader.
Yeah. I wish I could find it quickly, but anyway, I'll give it to you after you put it in the liner notes in the comments.
James Harris is the translator of this, but you give me the one that you want me to share.
Robin Waterford's a good one.
Okay, well, we'll put that in the show notes.
Robin
and then
Waterford.
Your 1% a day philosophy, while not created by this particular author, and I'm losing his name too because we can't keep them all in our heads, but the book is Atomic Habits, and that is, it really digs into that small little bit every day. So that would be a recommended book for me, to just back up what you said.
I always keep that near.
Yeah, my budget coach, who hopefully I'll have on the show, she challenged me to read it, and because like many women in business, finances are not my favorite, but it is something that I've really been dedicated to for a few years now. And you know what? When you act like the person that you want to be like, then you become that person. It's just how it works.
That's exactly right.
So we can get in touch with you. I know Jeremy's very active on LinkedIn. So you're Jeremy Torisk on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, my name is spelled Torisk, and my blood type is B positive. So there's that. There is my scans. And awesome. Basically, if you're watching this and you take your phone and just use it, the QR code's there. But Jeremy, Torisk, is the way you spell it. And I'm everywhere, on LinkedIn and all the social media stuff, YouTube and everything.
Yeah, we'll go back to that book, because you've offered my listeners a free copy of your book, Labor to Leadership. So how do they need to hop on a call with you, or how do we get that book?
All they got to do is connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a little message.
Okay.
Saying, I heard you on Velvet Machete, and I will get you an Amazon code worth $5.99, which is how much the book sells for. It's about the minimal amount I can sell a book for on Amazon. Because I didn't write it to make money. I just wrote it to spread the story of my story. And also it's about business elements, how to not let business elements ruin your business, because you have to understand all the different functionalities of a business, or else your business will fail. The first part of the book is my life story in a nutshell. It's the tip of the iceberg. All right. A lot of still I can go into, but yeah, just LinkedIn, get your code, and you'll have it in just a couple of days.
Sweet. Well, we'll definitely link to Jeremy's website, his LinkedIn. We will also do his Instagram, Facebook, all those things, the books that we talked about, and anything else that is juicy and good, and the quotables that he said and made me lose my cookies over. Jeremy, I've gotten to hang out with you 2 weeks in a row now, and it's just filled my cup. So thank you for being an awesome human and for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll have to check you out on the show. It's called the GoPro Cast.
Yes.
It really just is that mindset. Go pro, whatever you're doing, go pro. And it's GoPro Cast. So look forward to cannibalizing each other's peoples, because our peoples are what make us who
That's
we are.
right.
So.
all back to those personal relationships. Well,
Building an army.
yeah, that's right. We are. Well, I won't get into that. We're part of the degenerates of a more professional group, but we're kind of the rule breakers, I would say. So also professional, just maybe a little more rule breakery. So
Yeah.
Y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you have a lot of options in spending your time and listening and learning, and the interwebs are just, vomiting with information. So I treasure your listenership or your viewership, whichever way you do take in the show. And as always, we would love a rating or review in your favorite listening app, or give us a like on YouTube, share, subscribe. And when I say share, if there's somebody in your life that really needs to hear Jeremy's thoughts, just pop it in an email or a text message and just be like, hey, you got to check this out. And that's why Jeremy and I do what we do. We're not here for ego. We're here for service. So just take that to the next level and share with your group, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in. Mentioned resources can be found at amberhurdle.com. Be sure to leave a rating and review in your favorite podcast app, and subscribe so you never miss an update. As always, thank you to The Coup for our intro and outro music. See you next time.